Okay, hi. So we're going to have a quick look at some other of the built-in variables that come with p5.js. And we'll probably have a look at, sorry, I got hair in my eye, width and height. We've used them a little bit before, but I'll just go over them again. We're also going to look at mouseX and mouseY. And I might just show you windowWidth and windowHeight, although I don't know how it's going to work on here. So generally when we set up our canvas, let's create something. I'm going to create maybe an ellipse. And I believe actually we had a bit of a look at this before in a class with mouseX and mouseY, and I'm going to put it at, I don't know, 30 and 30 and make it 20. Nice 20 circle. It's going to be quite small. And here we go. I might also talk about the order of things again. I mean, we've talked about this before, but I will talk about this and alpha color. Alpha values in color at least anyway. So yeah, I've got my ellipse here. Let's make it bigger. It's kind of small. So if I want to put this in the center of my canvas here, I could do some math. So my ellipse is 200, so half of it is 100. The canvas is 400, so if I position it at 150, I think. Is it 150? This is why variables are good. Let's see. Oh, no. I think we actually want 200. Yeah, so if I position it at 200, we've got 200 here, 200 here, and the 100 here and 100 here. Yeah, that makes sense. If I am then to change my size to be 100, you can see it still works because I'm saying put it at half the height here. So notice what I just said. I said put it at half this height. So same with this. I could put this at 200. And actually this works quite neatly with an ellipse. I can do the maths pretty easily, and yeah, it just works. So let's try this with a rectangle. So I'm going to add a rectangle. I will make it small so we can see it. So let's make it 200, position by 200, so centering it again, and 40 by 40. Okay, and this doesn't work how I want it to, and if you remember back, so this isn't centered. And why is that? So it's not centered because, let's remind how our things are drawn here. So our rectangle's origin point, and we've just talked about origin points when we looked at transform and the transform functions. My origin point for a rectangle is the x and y value. So there's a couple of things I could do. I could use rect mode to change that. So we've done this before. So rectangle mode or rect mode changes the mode in which the rectangle is drawn. I could change this to center, and that now means that my point of origin is the center. There we go. It's in the center now. But let's say that's not what I wanted to happen. For some other reason, I don't want to use rect mode center. Another easy thing I can do is I can refer to the variables of these two. So I can refer to 400 and 400 as this one is a variable called width and this one is a variable called height. And actually, I still am going to need, what am I talking about? I still need my rect mode to be center for these to work. Otherwise, I've got to do some more maths. So I've got my rectangle mode at center. If I now change this to width, not capitals, So width over 2 puts it in the center. Same with height over 2, also centers it. And the beauty of this is that if I now go and change the width or the height of my canvas, rectangle is staying in the center, because when these two values change, so do the values of width and height, because these are variables that refer to this, whatever you set up in Create Canvas. So likewise now, if I change the ellipse to be placed at width over 2 by height over 2, there we go, and we're back. And so that gives me some freedom to play around with the size. This might be useful, say, if you were making something that you wanted to work on a range of different screen sizes. Is one example I could think of where this is super useful, apart from just not having to think if you later on, later on you might need to resize your whole window for some reason. This means you don't have to go back and change everything again, which again is the beauty of using any variable, is that you only have to change one bit of code and it reflects all throughout the code. Another variable I want to show you, which a bit later once we start using a text editor instead of the p5.js editor, this will become useful. I don't actually know how it's going to look here. So instead of setting a number for Create Canvas, we can actually use two other variables, and that is a windowWidth. Notice the capital W on window on the width. And what that is that it can, so p5.js knows the width of your window that you have open. And actually I'm just gonna, so while I have my full screen on, the width of my window is going to be from like one end of my screen over here to the other end of my screen. If I was to take this off, it would actually stop, well, there's not really much different in the width. But if height-wise, when I do, let me add in here window height, which is the height of this window, when full screen isn't on, it goes here. So it's the top where this menu bar stops to down here. And actually, I'm just going to show you an example of this. So this is a project I worked on recently that is, it resizes based on your window size. It's a bit of a game. So you can see I've got, in this project, I use windowWidth and windowHeight. That's just set once though, when the window is first drawn. So if I go F11 now, you can see that I have this sort of gap here going on. And I'll just F11 to get out of that. Oh no, actually I'll go back to F11. If I refresh my page now, while the screen size is different, wait for the loading screen, you can see it now, it takes up the whole page again. So it's resized, like everything here is positioned using width and height. I'll just get back out of there. Likewise, if I was to make my window smaller, you can see at the moment as I make it smaller, okay, it's playing the game, as I make my window smaller, it's going to, well, actually some things resize. I'm just going to get out of here. If you want to have a look at that later, it's all written in p5.js. Alright, that's not what I wanted. Here we go. So yeah, window width and window height are really useful if you need to create things that are responsive, or if you think you might, if you want to fill the screen, that's how you do it, rather than having to know what size the screen is going to be. You can find that out on the fly. But in here, it's just going to go off the page because we're only capturing it in here. So I'm actually just going to go back to, I don't know, 500, not there. 500, and you can mix these if you want. I could have 500 and window height. I'm go 500 and 600. There we go, we're back. Alright, so another couple of variables that are built in here are mouseX and mouseY. So just for an example, when my mouse is up here in the top corner, mouseX and mouseY are both at 0. So once again, think back to our grid, 0, 0, and as I move down, the numbers get bigger till they reach the full size of the canvas. So we can use these variables in a whole heap of different places. So I may want to set the position of the ellipse to, instead of width over 2, let's make it mouse X. Let's just do 1 for now, and you can see that it moves along the X position wherever my mouse is. It ignores the Y at the moment. I could also change this to mouse Y. And now my circle is following my mouse around. And I believe we've had a quick look at this one before. But it doesn't just have to be position based. So I could also make the size of my ellipse to be, let's make it mouse X. And see what happens there. So it's tiny, and as I go down the screen, it draws it bigger and bigger. I could also combine these, so I could make it mouse X minus mouse Y. Notice the capital X and Y here, by the way. And this is going to, be a bit more interesting. It's kind of annoying, but yep, that's something. I don't know why this sort of movement annoys me, but I'm finding it very unsatisfying. So I'm just gonna go back to like 40. No, square's 40. Let's go 60. And I've got this following my square. One other thing to note is that, and I've mentioned this in the previous video, whatever is drawn last is in front. So that's why a rectangle is in front of this ellipse. Let's stop this for a second. I'm going to quickly talk about the alpha channel as well. So far we've only ever used RGB values to do color. So for example, let's put in a fill color on this rectangle. Let's go 233 and I'm going to go 144. I'm just guessing some things here. And 200. Wonder what color that's going to be. This, if I only wanted this to, if I want to change the fill color of the ellipse, I could also change the fill color here. So I'm actually just going to use a name, I believe. Oh no, I'm going to stick with RGB. So let's go 210 and 100. Okay. So we can actually use a fourth property in here, and that is the alpha channel. Imagine you've used alpha channels in Rhino, but if you haven't, then the alpha channel is the transparency value of the color. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what the two values are. So let's try putting in 1 here, and I'm going to say at a guess that 1 is full opacity. No, it's not. I'll try 100. Okay, no, so I guess like the colors, it goes from 0 to 255. So at 255, this is fully opaque. You can't see the circle behind the rectangle or the square. However, if I start to bring this number down, and let's make it 100, you can now see that it's transparent. So that's something nice for you to think about as well. Alright, I'm going to leave it there for now, and we'll do some other videos later on. Okay, see ya!